Welcome to Global Exploration, where we bring the traveling to you. Sit back and relax as we dive into 10 of Germany's best traveling destinations and history surrounding them. The world that we live in is filled with adventure, from a Guinness World Record model train system to a cathedral that still uses equipment from back in the day. Join us as we get started. Starting with number 1. The Reichstag Dome, Reichstag. The Reichstag Dome is a glass dome constructed on top of Berlin's restored Reichstag building. It was designed by architect Norman Foster and constructed by Wagner Biro in honor of Germany's reunification. The interesting appearance of the dome has made it a renowned landmark in the city. The big glass dome provides a 360-degree view of the Berlin skyline. The Bundestag, Germany's parliament debating chamber, can be seen directly below. A mirrored cone at the dome's center beams sunlight into the building, allowing visitors to observe how the chamber works. It is accessible to the public by climbing 2 steel spiraling ramps that resemble a double helix. The glass cone was meant to be environmentally friendly and energy efficient. By letting daylight to shine through the mirrored cone, the usage of artificial lighting is reduced and so are carbon emissions. It was also determined that the original Reichstag building, as well as the new dome, would be rebuilt. In 1993, architect Norman Foster was awarded a commission to design and reconstruct the Reichstag. The original building was proposed in response to the demand for a larger parliamentary building. The winner of the architectural competition was chosen to design the building in 1894. The Reichstag building plenary chamber was destroyed in a fire, and the remains of the building and dome were further destroyed by bombings in Berlin through World War II. While the building was partially rebuilt as a conference center, the dome was not. Number 2. The Old Pinakothek, Munich. Also known as the Alte Pinakothek, is one of the world's oldest galleries, with a large collection of old master paintings. The name Alte Pinakothek relates to the collection's historical era, which spans the 14th to the 18th centuries. In 1862, King Ludwig I of Bavaria commissioned Leo von Klenz to construct a new gallery for the Wittelsbach collection. Even the Pinakothek's neo-Renaissance exterior stands out from the castle-like museum type. It is closely associated with the building's purpose and structure as a museum. The museum building was heavily damaged by bombing during World War II, but it was rebuilt and reopened to the public in 1957. Director Ernst Buchner oversaw the remodeling project, ensuring that the building's original architecture was preserved. The pre-war interior, including the huge loggia on the upper level facing the south facade, was not restored. In 2008, a woven and colored silk from lion was used to make a new wall covering for the upper level rooms. The new color scheme of green and red is based on the design of the chambers that dates back to the Alte Pinakothek's building and was prevalent until the 20th century. The red and green signified the continuation of a tradition that extends back to the late 16th century exhibitions of old masters in several major Europe art galleries. Number 3. The Hohenzollern Castle, Cologne. Hohenzollern Castle is the ancestral residence of the Imperial House of Hohenzollern and the third of 3 hilltop castles built on this site. The mountain's original fortress, built in the early 11th century, was entirely destroyed in 1423 during a 10-month siege. The second castle was made from 1454 to 1461 as a shelter, but it was believed to have lost strategic relevance and eventually fell into ruin, leading to the demolition of several older structures. The third and current castle was built as a family memorial between 1846 to 1867. The castle was not regularly occupied once it was rebuilt, but rather served as an exhibit. The castle was severely damaged by an earthquake, causing parts of its turrets to give way and was under repair until the mid-1990s. Hohenzollern Castle is divided into 4 sections: military architecture, princely structures, chapels, and gardens. The palace itself is an open-air museum with a U-shaped layout that ends with Protestant and Catholic chapels. The watchtower, which is attached to the main building, serves as both a staircase to the library and a flagpole when the Hohenzollern family is residing within the castle. The Count's Hall rib vaulting, embellished with grisailles, depicts the house's history through pointed arch windows, supported by 8 freestanding red marble columns. The medieval castle kitchen, now a treasure chamber, is located beneath the Count's Hall. The Emperor's Tower and the Bishop's Niche follow the library, which is covered with murals portraying Hohenzollern history. Number 4. Miniature Wonderland, Hamburg. Miniature Wonderland is the world's largest model train system. As of December 2021, the railway has over 52,000 feet of H0 scale track divided into 9 sections. Around 1,120 digitally operated trains with over 10,000 wagons are on display. The Wonderland also includes over 4,300 dwellings and bridges, over 10,000 vehicles of which approximately 350 drive independently on the installation, 52 airplanes, and just about 290,000 figures. The system has a recurrent day-night cycle and about 500,000 built-in LED lights in terms of lighting technology. One of Miniature Wonderland's 2 founders was on vacation in the summer of 2000, when he brainstormed the idea for the world's largest model railway in a local model train store. Back in Hamburg, he looked up email addresses and began a survey about the popularity of real and fictional Hamburg sites of the city. The first 3 parts of the railway were opened after work began in December of 2000. New sections have been added since then. Wonderland became Europe's largest model railroad after the completion of the Hamburg, German coast section. A Guinness judge documented this and then awarded the certificate for the newly established world record. The current total length of this railroad at the time was 51,558 feet. Number 5. Heidelberg University, Heidelberg. Heidelberg University is a public research institution that was founded in 1386. It is Germany's oldest and one of the world's oldest universities that remains in operation. In 3 rooms, the University Museum displays the history of Heidelberg University. Room A provides an overview of the era from the institution's founding through the end of the Holy Roman Empire, using authentic documents and copies from the University Archives and the Palatinate Museum. The Room B is dedicated to the 19th century, with portraits and replicas of modern student rooms and protest marches, as well as early images of laboratory buildings and equipment. Room C emphasizes the university's role as the Weimar Republic attempted to establish a democracy again after World War II. A science and research center features a room with periodic special exhibitions, ranging from apes to cell division to the student and civic commitment that defines the institution and the city of Heidelberg. The Great Hall is still utilized for ceremonies, concerts, and lectures, and visitors can visit it if accompanied by a museum staff member. Initially, city prisons were used to hold criminals, but in 1545, the university established its own student penitentiary. The prison was located near what is today's known University Square. Cells were built in the Augustine Gas Building in 1823 and were utilized until 1914. Number 6. Albrecht Dürer's House, Nuremberg. The Albrecht Dürer's house was constructed around 1420 and was home of German Renaissance artist Albrecht Dürer in Nuremberg from 1509 until his death in 1528. It has 5 floors, with sandstone walls on the lowest 2 and timber-framed upper stories, with a half-hip roof covering the entire building. Bernhard Walther, a merchant and astronomer, purchased the place in 1501. Walter remodeled the house, including small windows in the top to serve as an observatory. Walter died in 1504, and Dürer bought the house the following year. The Albrecht Dürer House has been a museum dedicated to Dürer's life and work since 1871. The massive dormer on the east-facing roof was replaced during a 1909 renovation. It suffered significant damage from the Allied bombings in October 1944. It was repaired a couple of years later, but it did not open as a museum until 1971, on the 500th anniversary of Dürer's death. The museum includes era furnishings installations, a recreation of Dürer's workshop in which visitors can observe printmaking demonstrations, and rotating exhibitions of Dürer's drawings and prints from the city of Nuremberg's graphic collection. Visitors can also take a guided tour of the residence with an actress portraying Agnes Dürer, Dürer's wife. Number 7. Deutsches Romantik Museum, Frankfurt. The Deutsches Romantik Museum is a museum dedicated to German Romanticism located in Frankfurt's Innenstadt. The Free German Foundation is running the museum, which opened in September 2021. This museum is the first of its type, focused on major achievements during the Romantic era. Since 1863, the foundation had built a collection of manuscripts, letters, artworks, and other items. Beutler, the foundation's director, hoped to construct the museum to display the collection in the Brentanos family home, but that building was destroyed by bombing during World War II. When the city of Frankfurt decided not to fund the project, art dealer, Karsten Grieve, donated €1 million for the building. On September 24, 2014, the judges decided to combine two winning designs from an architectural competition. The museum is unique in its focus, spanning the whole German Romantic era, and it houses the world's biggest collection of German Romanticism. Architect Christoph Mackler was tasked with developing a building for exhibits that require light protection while avoiding the creation of windowless exterior. A straight staircase rises 3 stories behind the exterior, hiding the exhibition rooms from the sunlight. The stairs are known as the Stairway to Heaven because they appear to be endless due to an optical illusion. The third level provides a view of Frankfurt's skyline, making the Paulskirche, the cathedral, and the European Central Bank appear to be aligned next to one another. Number 8. Neuschwanstein Castle, Bavaria. Neuschwanstein Castle is a 19th-century historicist mansion on a steep hill in the foothills of the Alps in Schwangau, Germany. The castle was supposed to be the king's private residence, but he died in 1886, and it was opened to the public shortly after. The palace suite of rooms includes the throne room, King Ludwig's apartment, the singer's hall, and the grotto. Throughout, the design holds reference to the German legends of Lohengrin, the Swan Knight. Many rooms have borders representing Wagner's many operas, including a theater that is permanently depicting the scene of one such play. Many of the interior rooms are still unfinished, with only 14 completed before Ludwig's death. With the palace still under construction at the time of the king's death, one of the palace's key features remained unfinished due to the decision of the king's family. The keep's foundation could be seen in the upper courtyard. Neuschwanstein is made up of several distinct castles that were built along a 492-foot cliff crest. The castle was designed from the start to be an intentional asymmetric building, and it was constructed in several stages. Although typical castle elements were incorporated, true fortifications were dispensed in. Number 9. St. Peter's Cathedral, Regensburg. St. Peter's Cathedral is a landmark for the city in Regensburg, Germany. The original church, known as Niedermünster, was built around the year 700, west of where the modern cathedral stands now. Although it was a mausoleum for Saint Erhard, it was originally a church for a royal family. The Niedermünster burned down in 1273, and at the time, a new cathedral was able to be made. The architect who took over the new cathedral in 1280 was trained in France, therefore French Gothic architectural features were used. This included a central nave divided into 3 sections, buttresses, vaulting, and 2 towers over a facade. The Donkey Tower is located on the north side of the cathedral, which is used to transport building materials to upper levels. A pulley still exists in the west loft, and it was used for lifting items through a gap in the ceiling. The cathedral workshop, which is responsible for the structure's preservation, is located to the east of the cathedral. 2 monumental statues are positioned on 2 pillars of the west crossing piers. These 2 statues, one portraying Mother Mary and the other portraying the angel Gabriel, can still be found on the cathedral's pillars today. The cathedral's cloister All Saints' Chapel, established in 1140 as a burial chapel for Bishop Hartwig II, consists of a trefoiled semicircle and a center room with an octagonal drum and pavilion roof. The majority of the valuable stained glass windows were installed, although the windows on the west side were only finished in the 19th century. Number 10. Botanic Garden of Würzburg University. The Würzburg University Botanic Garden was founded in 1696 as a medicinal plant garden in what is now the Julius Hospitals Park in the city's center. Its first catalogue, issued in 1722, featured nearly 400 different plant species, including 52 from the region and from other countries. The first greenhouse was built in 1722, and 3 more were built between 1739 and 1741. 4 new greenhouses were constructed to replace them. However, by the late 18th century, a majority of the medicinal plant garden was converted to ornamental gardens, and only 3,200 square feet remained for medicinal plants by 1791. This area had been heavily cultivated and had close to 6,000 species. The garden was administratively given to the university proper in 1854 rather than being held together with the hospital after being reformed by Linnean taxonomy in 1833. As part of this new arrangement, the garden was relocated to university grounds in 1854, then again in 1873 to a location near the former Physics Institute. Today it is marked by an X-ray monument, celebrating the 1895 revelation of X-rays. Beginning in 1960, the garden was relocated to its current location on the outskirts of the city, with the plant collections moved to a 19-acre garden, an opening, and an expansion of 3.7 acres in 1978. The garden now has over 10,000 documented plant species, as well as specialized collections of plants such as tubers and onions, rare native and exotic plants, and a collection honoring a Würzburg naturalist who explored the plants of Japan. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of Germany's best traveling destinations. Remember, the adventure doesn't end here. Let me know in the comments below which place you would love to visit. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.